Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report on Entity Television. I'm Steve Lance. A new poll finding President Biden's re-election bid could be in danger. This due to voters' concerns over his age and the economy. That's as the president traveled to Philadelphia today on Labor Day to tout his economic record. Entity's Iris Tao brings us more from the White House.
On this Labor Day, President Biden is seeking to appeal to middle-class voters by casting himself as a pro-union common man focused on the economy.
Folks, in this Labor Day, let me tell you what we're celebrating. We're celebrating jobs, good-paying jobs, jobs you can raise a family on, union jobs. All my time in public office, I've been referred to as middle-class Joe. That's who I am.
Again, traveling to Philadelphia today, President Biden today also took aim at former President Trump and calling him the last guy.
When the last guy was here, you were shipping jobs to China. Now we're bringing jobs home from China.
But it's unclear how much the public is convinced that Bidenomics is working. A new poll released Monday by the Wall Street Journal found that 59% of voters disapprove of Biden's handling of the economy, with nearly 3 in 4 voters say that inflation is headed in the wrong direction. Perhaps even more worrisome for Biden's the polls finding that Biden is tied with Trump in a potential 2024 rematch at both 46% of support. And when it comes to age, more than 70% of voters say that Biden is too old to run again, while only less than 50% say that Trump is too old. But Biden apparently has been insisting that for those who are concerned, they should just watch him. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
On the heels of this holiday weekend, lawmakers will be heading into a packed September this week with consequential deadlines and brewing political drama over an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. NTD's Melina Wisecup has more on what to expect when Congress is back in session.
Lawmakers are back in D.C. after a month-long recess. Senators are coming here tomorrow at 3 p.m., while House lawmakers are coming back next week. And there are serious disagreements right now about how to fund the government to avoid a government shutdown before the end of the month. The Senate Appropriations Committee has already passed their government funding bills at much higher spending levels than some House Republicans are willing to accept. And adding to this issue is the fact that the White House has requested $40 billion in emergency aid for natural disaster relief, border management, and Ukraine aid, which will also be difficult for some House Republicans to swallow. And some Republicans are already drawing a red line in the sand. Congressman Chip Roy, as well as 14 others, are saying that they're going to oppose any spending bill that funds the Department of Homeland Security without making changes to border policy. Meanwhile, Speaker Kevin McCarthy says that if he cannot get a consensus within the Republican Party as well as a consensus with the Democrats, he could push a continuing resolution that is a short-term government funding bill to avoid a shutdown by the end of this month, trying to make the case sort of with his Republican colleagues that if the government does shut down and they do choose to risk this, it could also pause their investigations, including those probes into the Biden family, which right now are on the verge of becoming an impeachment inquiry. Speaker Kevin McCarthy has described taking this step towards impeachment inquiry as natural. Meanwhile, Chairman of the Judiciary Jim Jordan says that he feels that the House is inclined to have this vote at some point during this month. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Melina Wisecup, NTD News.
Welcome back to NTD's Capitol Report. I'm Steve Lance. A major shakeup is happening within Ukraine's military. The country's defense minister is now stepping down after 22 months on the job. This comes amid allegations of corruption within the ministry. NTD's Jason Perry has the latest.
Ukraine's Minister of Defense, Alexei Reznikov, submitted his resignation on Monday. He has overseen the Russia-Ukraine war for the last 22 months. He posted his resignation letter on X. In the letter, he praised Ukraine's fight against Russia, and he also highlighted his ministry's ability to secure military aid, which has equated to billions of dollars worth of Western weapons. His departure comes after months of corruption allegations against Ukraine's Ministry of Defense, and that led to public calls for Reznikov's resignation, although he was not personally implicated by any corruption allegations. Ukraine's Ministry of Defense has faced accusations of corruption in multiple areas, ranging from recruitment bribes to military medical exemptions to even food and clothing procurement. Reznikov's departure is not expected to have a big impact on military operations. Ukrainian residents gave their opinions on the recent move.
I believe it's a timely resignation. There were many media reports saying that his ministry was involved in corruption in the area of procurement. I did not hear from him any reasonable explanations when he talked on TV or online. I liked the way he behaved and what he did. There were some scandals, and the resignation is probably connected to them, but there was no evidence. I don't know exactly. I like the new candidate for the defense minister position, Umerov.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on Sunday proposed Rustem Umerov to be Ukraine's next Minister of Defense. He's currently in charge of managing state-owned assets. He's also a Crimean Tatar, an ethnic group originally from the Crimea region. That's the peninsula that Russia annexed from Ukraine in 2014. And Umerov may soon find himself faced with very complex and crucial decisions. For example, Ukraine on Monday said Russian drones had blown up overnight in the territory of NATO member Romania, and Ukraine's foreign minister said they have photos to prove it. If true, this could have long-lasting consequences for all parties involved. However, Romania's foreign minister said Romania was not hit by Russian drones or debris in the overnight strike. Jason Perry, NTD News.
Israel deporting thousands of immigrants after they participated in violent protests. Meanwhile, in New York City, an immigrant was reportedly released without bail and is back on the streets after a conflict with a police officer. NTD's Ariane Pazdar has more.
Israel is expelling some refugees who came from the African country of Eritrea. The Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced the move on Sunday. The immigrants in question participated in this violent protest on Saturday. One side gathered to celebrate the anniversary of the 30-year rule of Eritrea's dictator. The other side was there to oppose his rule. Israel now wants to deport the rioters, but international law says Israel can't forcibly send migrants back to a country where their life or liberty may be at risk. However, Netanyahu says it's hard for me to understand why we would have a problem with those who declare that they support the regime. They certainly cannot claim refugee status. Meanwhile, in New York City, an illegal immigrant was reportedly released from jail on Sunday after a conflict with police. The New York Post reports she was arrested for attempted assault on Thursday. This was her second arrest after felony assault charges against her in July.
If you're illegal, somehow for some reason, these people get a pass.
Victor Avila is a former supervisory special agent with ICE and Homeland Security. He's currently running for Congress, aiming to represent a district in southern Texas along the border.
How should we treat immigrants who commit crimes, especially in cities like New York, which is, as you know, a sanctuary city?
Well, listen, I'm a law and order person. When it comes to enforcing our laws, it shouldn't matter where you come from.
The New York immigrant was reportedly released from jail because the charges are not bail eligible in the Big Apple.
Bail reform policies that they have in place have affected everyone. But on top of that, if you happen to be illegal, you somehow get an additional pass to continue to stay in this country.
Avila says possible violence is just one of the downsides of an open border. Others are fentanyl coming into the country and more.
The foreign policy aspect, I'm talking about China, Venezuela, Cuba, Russia, and the impact that they have and influence gets through where? Through Mexico.
The Biden administration recently expanded legal pathways to come into the country in an attempt to bring order back to immigration. Ariane Pazdar, NTD News.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.